All right, so I just sat here for about, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes contemplating not doing this video. And then I got into Chat GPT and tried to come up with some other topic ideas based on things going on this week. And God literally like stopped me and said, if your goal is to build more confidence and to speak more clearly, then do the things that make you the most uncomfortable. And so here I am, um, creating a video about my plan and both the how I got into $197,000 worth of debt and my plan at 43 to finally take my finances seriously. And there's a lot of shame I know that is wrapped around all of this because there have been times throughout the last 5 or 6 years that I have been saying that I've wanted to get out of debt and that I'm setting up this plan and I'm doing all of these things and I never did them. And so, here I am at 43 with, I can be 100% transparent with you. I've got like, I don't know, $8,000 to $9,000 in like a 401k Roth RIA because I over COVID took out my 401k money in order to survive because I was too prideful to go back to doing therapy work then. Because I was dead set on running this coaching business that I had started when I got divorced and started my life over again. I was living such a prideful life that I was not able to see outside of what I felt like I had to do, who I had to be, and what it had to look like in order to show that I could be successful after divorce. And so I want this video, while it's a personal story of my own, to be an encouragement and maybe a slap on the back of the neck, a pinch of the ear, whatever it may be, to help you shift out of any prideful posture that you may be stuck in that's actually holding you back. Um, my name is Brianna. I am a 20 plus year licensed clinical psychotherapist, but that is not all I do or who I am. I am both a mentor and a coach to 6 and 7 figure business owners, CEOs, and entrepreneurs who are ready to match the success of their professional life with their personal life. And I'm also a stylist, an author, and a speaker. And so, yes, I get hired by these very successful money making people, which I am not at the same elevation of. However, the way that I live life, the peace that I have, the joy that I have, the authenticity that I live through, you can't use money to hide from all of that. You have to have that inside of your heart. And so um today I'm going to talk to you about what led to me getting to the place where I I can't live in this amount of debt anymore, nor do I want to, and I'm no longer making excuses because America traps you into believing that more is better. America traps you into believing that name brand high end is better. And America traps you in the idea of the white picket fence family, suburban family. And somewhere along the lines, I don't know where America got it wrong, but we are missing out on the opportunity to actually live and enjoy life because there are so many of us that are in the same place as me. And so I want to be an example of how to get out of these holes that we put ourselves in while investing in our long-term success, i.e., Roth IRAs, Bitcoin, whatever it may be, and still having something to enjoy in life. So, I'm going to teach you about my way of budgeting and planning. I'm going to talk to you about how I got here, and I'm going to share with you the ways that I am, taking back my, like, I don't know, my power when it comes to money. Um, and so, I have some notes here that I want to, talk about because faith, I feel like my faith, I can be faithful in so many areas, but my faith with God has been tested when it comes to my finances. And it's the one place that I have had a hard time understanding, um, how to believe in what God sees for me, because I know that He does not want us to be in debt. I know that He wants us to spend our money in a fruitful and wise way. I know that He wants us to tithe to um, those that are in need. And so, as I'm doing all of those things, I'm also learning how to be in relationship with money in a new way. Because here's the crazy thing, um, there were times when I was making more money and doing less, but I still have nothing to show. There were times where I was making less money and doing less and had a lot to show. And then there are times now where I have a good amount of money and I feel like I'm budgeting it the correct way. And obviously in the midst of what's happening in my financial crisis, there's not much to show because I'm really doing it right this time. Um so what I'm recognizing is that money does not equal security. Money is not going to bring me the security that I need, but money brings security. So I have to innately in my body really lean into the trust in, because as a Christian, God's my homie, like I have to believe what he says is true, but what he says is true, I have to take action on and put my right foot forward to make sure that I am diligently doing the things that need to be done. Now I have purchased a debt tracking system. It was super cheap. I can link it in the comments, that helped me determine the best route for getting out of my debt. There are so many ways to do this. And I feel like Dave Ramsey actually has it all wrong, because he tells you to constantly just focus on paying off your debt. But what you're missing out in doing that as well is building some financial stability through your investments when it comes to retirement stuff. And that interest builds much faster than the interest that you're going to be paying on as you're paying off your debt. That is just what I have decided to do. And um, I am paying off my debt in bi weekly payments. So, yes, there are some months where I'm making a half of an extra payment because I'm paying bi weekly. So, I'm making my payment. So, if my payment is $100, for instance, on a credit card, I'm paying $50 the first week, $50 the third week, and then if there's a, next week that's still in the same month, I'm paying another $50. So there's always an extra payment happening. So I'm going to be paying things off a little bit quicker. My current goal as of January of 2026 is to get $15,000 paid off by the end of the year and $5,000 put into a high yield savings. And I am currently investing $100 a month into my Roth IRA. And then the kids are getting $20 a month into a savings, a high yield savings that I created through Fidelity for them, that they can then cash out when they turn 18. When I am budgeting, what I have always done wrong is I get my check and then I look at, okay, I know I need some groceries and I know I need this, and here's a bill that's due in the next 2 days. And then I have all this chunk of money and I go and spend it in stupid places. But what I haven't budgeted for is the bills for the next 2 weeks and the food that I'm going to need the next 2 weeks and potential to go do something the next 2 weeks. And so I have made I am a visual person. I cannot use these online apps. I have tried and I have failed. And that is one thing that I know to be certain about money is it's not a one size fits all. So you need to find the system that works for you, that's going to keep you excited about going back to look at it, that's going to keep you committed to going back and looking at it. The apps were not it for me. So I'm a visual person. I had to create calendars into a 3-ring binder that have the days that things are due with different color codings, and then highlighted where we get paid. And then I have my budget tracking place to look at like what we spent versus what we budgeted so that we can get clear on where money is being overspent. And this is working for me. Now, My $197,000 worth of debt does not include a mortgage. This is two, well, three credit cards. I have a Citibank, I have a Capital One, I have a PayPal. I also have my car payment, I have school loans, and I owe money to the IRS for back taxes because I was not taking money out for taxes. So, another consequence of me being irresponsible with money. It's interesting because I owed more and made less at one point and wasn't tithing and didn't have enough. I make about the same now, owe more money, tithe, and am still getting by. So just dropping that in there, that somehow when you give your money to God, He provides. Okay. And I'm not going to go into scripture for that because I don't have any of them here with me. But let me tell you, when He promises to fill up the storehouse, somehow He fills up the storehouse, even if it's at the last minute. So I feel like right now we are living in some financial uncertainty. Um, my husband works a job that is more seasonal as a DJ. And so it's kind of up to my consistency and my career. However, as a therapist, because I've had to step back into this role, there are times when clients go away and you don't get any. And then there's a time when you have an influx. And so, again, it's unpredictable. I have had to learn, and I encourage you to work on that nervous system regulation when it comes to money. Because if you can't keep your body regulated, then you're going to behave in patterns that you typically do, which for me was, well, then screw it. I'm just going to go spend this money and I'll figure out how to get more later. That was my mentality. And I don't know where I learned that or how it came to fruition, but that's just what I did. So now that I have a more regulated nervous system, when it comes to addressing money, I feel safer with it, whether I have a lot or I have a little. I just want to know where it's at. That's the piece that I need to know is like, where is it at? Where is it coming from? So I again created this tracker for me because I'm not somebody who has a 9 to 5 like and every week is different with how much I make or how many clients I have. So if you're somebody like me who has very inconsistent incomes, it's really important that you create a tracker and start working out the average of that money so that you don't have to worry in the months where you don't have enough. That's very much like giving paycheck to paycheck, and I'm unsubscribing from that. Like I'm not living in that anymore. So here is where my financial insecurity started. When I got divorced, I moved across the country from West Coast to East Coast. And I was, am a licensed therapist. I received, I think like it was like $100,000 through my divorce settlement. I had it all lump sum once. And so I was like, okay, great. I can start over. I have money. It'll be fine. The day before I was leaving to move out here, I got a letter from the Board of Behavioral Health in California that said, Behavioral Health of South Carolina, that said, we are denying you reciprocity for your license. Your master's degree titles of your classes that you took in California do not match the way that we describe classes here. So, yeah, bye. You can't have a license. My stuff was literally en route to South Carolina. I had a deposit down on a house I was renting. And so, like, I had to go. So I moved out to the west or the East Coast now without a plan, and I had to scramble. Now, let me tell you that, like, if I would have started remote therapy, I was seeing clients remotely, but they didn't like it because nobody was used to it. I was at the beginning stages of remote therapy before COVID hit. I could have made bank off of teaching people how to do remote therapy, but whatever. That wasn't my plan. That wasn't my gift. So I started doing a little bit of remote therapy, but it wasn't enough. I went back to working as a bartender and a server for the first year that I moved out there, and also blew through the $100,000. I am labeling that healing money. I had nobody to help give me direction on, like, let's say, using that money to put a down payment on a house or invest it. No, I didn't have any of that. So another lesson that I learned, and I want to encourage for you that are starting at my age at 43 with this, it doesn't matter the age. Find somebody who can mentor you in this. Find somebody that can help you be smarter with your money. I didn't have that. And my biggest regret was like, I didn't know any better. And that's okay because I know better now and I'm doing differently. But I do wish that I had that sort of leadership in my life in some way. So I survived my first year. It was horrible. And one day I'll tell that story because it was like the worst experience of my life and the best experience all in the same time. But I started going back because I needed to make money. So I started to bartend and server, and I loved it. But what happened because of me doing that was I started sharing about this coaching business I was starting, and I got a first couple of new clients. And that opened my eyes to, the skill that I could still use as a therapist in the coaching world. And it started to evolve and grow. And I was making about $120,000 ish a year, but I was blowing it because I still had no money management. I just, oh my gosh, Brianna from the past, I love you so much. Thank you for getting me to this place. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating to tell this story. And there's still shame that I have to go back and just be compassionate for because I didn't know. And so, the other lesson that I want to give to you is whatever age you are in your life as an adult, if you have anybody under you that is younger, teach and tell them how important it is to be in lockstep with their money now so that they don't have to be where I'm at 43 figuring it out. Um, so I I have always had this up until recently, this wrestling with control and trust. And so here I am, $197,000 worth of debt. I'm just going to keep saying it to desensitize myself, where I am really starting to see how powerful money is. And I'm starting to see how powerful God is. And I'm starting to see that being afraid and being fearful of being in this place doesn't mean I can't also have faith. But it does mean that I have to allow the faith to lead me because the fear is going to keep me stuck and hold me back and lead me back to my old patterns of being with money. So, God, I feel like, teaches us through provision and discipline. And here is how I'm learning about provision and discipline in the moment. We were at a place where we had to move because I was getting really sick in the apartment that I was in. And we did not have enough to move out. But God somehow, by the freaking skin of our teeth, got us what we needed so that we could get out and move into our forever home. There's no other way this would have happened. There was a moment where my husband again is not bringing in money currently because of the season, and I'm trying to take on more clients. And it's Christmas holiday season. We did not know how we were going to make it through, but by the skin of our teeth, God showed up and got us exactly what we needed. So I am building a relationship through God with experience, and I now know who He is as the provider. So I can't not have faith anymore. So letting go of control has become easier because of that. And so another lesson that I want to leave for you is, especially if you're a follower, and if you're not, um, there's a way for you to develop trust in this bigger entity that exists out in the world. And if you want to have conversations about this, I'm happy to, because I'm still new to this. Like, I'm 2 years into my faith. Okay, no, maybe I'm moving into 3 years now. So I'm still learning. I feel like I'm still in my baby phase of this as well. But not idolizing what I was constantly trying to get and not idolizing who I was constantly trying to be allowed me to be more faithful in what was and what could be. When you idolize success, which is what happened to me when I was making all this money, I was idolizing making money. I was idolizing being somebody. I was idolizing um, popularity on social media. I was idolizing what I believed was this persona that I created and had to carry in order to continue my success. I wasn't being myself, and I definitely wasn't following any path that God had me on. And so I will say this over and over again, that God will humble you to your knees in order to challenge your character and your integrity before helping you get up to take you down the path that you have always been meant to walk. And my God, did he humble me, because 3 years ago, he completely took the coaching business away from me. I mean, when I say he took it away, like I went from loving it to hating it. I went from being on fire about helping the clients that I was working with to being bored, to being understimulated, to canceling appointments, to literally not caring. And then my pride kicked in again and said, well, I'm not going to be a therapist because I already left that and I'm too good to be in that. I'm too good to be a therapist because I've already done these things. I feel like I deserve to be paid more than what I get paid as a therapist. And so there was just a sense of entitlement. And God was just hitting me down like, you got to break that entitlement. You got to break that pride. And so I went from making great money, living in this luxury apartment and, having all of these nice things, to moving into a less nice apartment, not making that much money and getting by the skin of my teeth. And for a while, again, here's part of my story. For a while, instead of cutting my losses and cutting things out, I tried to live my same life on less money. So what happened? I got into credit card debt because, again, I was too prideful. So I am learning in this stage how much your pride and your prayer menopause just kicked in, whatever that word is I just said earlier, can really knock you out. So you got to check your pride at the door if you want to be in a positive relationship with money. You have to check your pride at your door. Pride doesn't always look like being conceited. Pride can look like digging a hole because you're better than whatever is beneath you that you're being challenged to actually accept. So I just want to encourage you that faith isn't passive. It has to take action, which is why I have, check sheets for marking down when we're paying off debt, why I am taking the money that we make and firstly paying my taxes, secondly, tithing, thirdly, investing, and then whatever we have left goes to everything else. Because I refuse, and I said this to my husband when we were in this like very deep hole, I will never be in this position again. It's not what God wants for us, and it's not what I want, and I know it's not what you want. And so that faith has to also have action. You can't just sit here and say, pour down your blessings on me, God. Now, I was told by one of my spiritual mentors, and I prayed this, and let me tell you what happened. So I she suggested that I say this very specific prayer, and I did it. The next day, I got a coaching client in an area that I love. And I know that was God sent, because that woman had my phone number for 4 months and I hadn't heard from her. The moment I made this prayer, it happened. And you know what that prayer was? The prayer was, God, nobody is going to follow or listen to me if I am broke and busted. Nobody's going to listen to me if I'm broke and busted. So God, pour your blessings down on me. Show me where I am out of alignment with abundance, and lead me in the way that you desire me to live when it comes to financial freedom and success, because I am ready. I am ready, and I surrender everything that I've tried to control to you. Bam. The next day I got a client. Okay. And it was for the same amount that we needed to repair very necessary and emergency repairs on my car. We couldn't have done it any other way. So don't tell me God don't exist, because that happens. So, letting go, another point, doesn't mean that you're being reckless. Okay. Again, there are action plans in this, but there is also a level of faith that you have to have, because how in my mind do I see $197,000 being paid Now, part of that again is school loans. My focus right now, because that's a low interest rate, my focus right now is on these high interest rate things. I truly believe that I can get $15,000 paid off by the end of this year. I can do it. I am believing God is going to do more. I believe that God is going to do more, but my action has to be shown first by my faith, by my behavior, by my discipline. So I want you to take that. Um, so here's my challenge to you is if you're in the same place as me, hello, welcome. You are not alone. We can be in the 40 and over. We were just dummies and being living too much in riffraff, and now we're ready to be grown-ups. Okay, because I'm ready to be a grown-up. Then hello, welcome. And I want to challenge you to take some sort of small financial action in those three areas of giving, saving, and paying something off before you do anything else with your money. It doesn't have to be the amount of money that I am doing. It can be a smaller amount, $5, $1, it doesn't matter. But you have to give, you have to save, and you have to pay off something, put money towards something. My name is Brianna. I am doing 100 daily videos on YouTube for 100 days, 100 videos each day for 100 days, whatever. And I am excited to see how this happens. And I am probably going to have very much like vulnerability fatigue from sharing all of this because I, again, was very nervous to share it all. So, encouragement, I would appreciate. Any sort of suggestions, I would appreciate. And I'm just excited and grateful to be here that I can share my story. And as long as it impacts one person, then I have one, because I already know that I'm strengthening the other skills that of speaking, connecting, being vulnerable, being sharing and really learning how to tell my story. So thank you for joining.